New York, 2017. Finally, after 3 decades of cat and mouse, Billy Waters sits in the federal courthouse. The agents across from him smile. This time, they've got him. But Billy is staring at the door, awaiting the arrival of his star witness. All his life, he wanted to escape that feeling, a feeling that he was born into. Poverty and failure. It's what drives him. He doesn't believe in luck, he believes in opportunity. He's a natural-born hustler who's gambled his way to 8 car dealerships, a rental franchise, a golf course, 7 homes, a private jet, and a net worth of $200 million. Everywhere he goes, he leaves a line of losers, from guys on the golf course to bookmakers worth billions, mob bosses you don't want to mess with, and lawmakers just desperate to catch him out. It's a high-stakes game. And now, if they can finally prove he's broken the rules, it's a game that Billy's about to lose. How did a car salesman from Kentucky outsmart Vegas casinos? To find out, we must first go back to where it really started. At 19, Billy is already a divorced dad and full-time car salesman. It's a job that he needs. But gambling is in his blood. His father gambled, as do his uncles and his cousins. But right now, his bets aren't going well. His first wife has just left him. He's down $50,000 and he's got a growing drink problem. He desperately wants to turn things around, so he thinks back to his first sizable win. Hustling at pool, he won $5,000. It was very deliberate. He was pretending that he couldn't play, when really, he knew he could. In principle, his logic is simple. He figures you just need to know something that other people don't. You need a fixed advantage. So what does he know? He knows about human psychology, and he understands value. So he cold calls until he's dead on his feet. By playing on perceived value, he buys cars for way too little, and then sells them quick for way too much. His philosophy is simple. In life, you're either a hustler or you're being hustled. If you look around the room and you can't find the mark, you are the mark. Soon, he knows every trick in the book. He's earning $56,000 a year. It's big bucks for 1969. The big bucks, though, just mean bigger bets. In 1971, Billy makes the biggest bet of all, his house. And he loses, but it costs him far more. His second wife has had enough, leading to a second divorce. It's a devastating blow, but he's worked it out now. He knows how to guarantee his bets win. So, operating out of a used car lot, he starts over again. And this time, he's the one taking other people's bets. By mimicking other sportsbook prices and applying a larger margin, coupled with some smooth talking, he's not the sucker anymore. And in 1979, he marries for a third time. This time, it's different. Susan is the love of his life and the money is flowing freely. But there's one small issue. In Kentucky, gambling is illegal. Subsequently, he's arrested, charged and fined. Compared to the money he's been making, it's not a big deal. And now he's winning. So he decides to go all in. He picks up his entire life and moves to where betting is allowed. Las Vegas. To his friends, it's like a dopehead moving in with a dealer. What are the odds that an alcoholic, degenerate gambler with no money management skills could survive in a city that eats addicts for lunch and dreams for dinner? He gives up on the booze, gets serious and angry. He's fed up of losing and of being punished when he does win. Someone's gonna pay, and it's gonna be Vegas casinos and sports books. He just needs to know the right people to make that happen. And it's not long before he finds them.
Well, someone asked me how I became so good at gambling. I told them I became good at it by losing.
It's 1981 and recent years have seen the dawn of an exciting new technological era, the era of the computer. Computers are large and expensive, so they're not yet used in the gambling industry much. They're still seen as a gimmick from the future, a big blinking queen bee serviced by men in white coats. Even a Vegas-based gang of enthusiasts called the Computer Group don't own a computer themselves. Instead, they rent time on one 2,400 miles away in Rockville, Maryland. Their aim? To understand sports betting better than the bookies. To learn, they specifically target college football and basketball. The Computer Group is the brainchild of Michael Kent, a mathematics fan who got bored of designing nuclear subs for Westinghouse, and Dr. Ivan Midlin, a statistics fan who got bored of performing cosmetic surgery for New York celebrities. They're smart, but they need a hustler that understands how Vegas sportsbooks operate. Because in secret, they're onto something big.
I got associated with a guy who had an algorithm. I was doing it with a pencil and piece of paper, as everyone else was at that time except one guy.
They're getting updates from college coaches and multiple newsrooms. And then, for the first time, using an algorithm to make value betting predictions. What they lack is the part that comes after. With Billy on board, the computer group expands its operation. They'll use a network of contacts nationwide to collect more information and wager ever-growing stakes. You see, with the additional information and a computer modelling the true odds of a sporting event, the group can clearly identify value at the casino sportsbook. Then, Billy will get the money down and exploit them hard. Really hard.
The bigger the difference between the lines, the bigger the discrepancy, the larger bet I make.
But this doesn't fully explain the success that follows. Across the 1983-84 sports year, the computer group bank approximately $15 million because Billy knows how to increase their margin dramatically. And nobody's clocked onto his method yet either. There is a problem though. When gamblers keep winning, the sportsbooks shut them down and throw them out, at least until they can work out why and then change the rules. So now his cards are marked. The house refuses his bets, but Billy knew this was coming. He's recruited a network of anonymous runners to bet for him, and with their help, his secret method of hurting the bookies really starts to take off. Here's how it works. Each runner will operate in the dark. They have no contact with one another. They range from low-level employees to celebrities. Names like Bruce Willis and Floyd Mayweather are suspected after a while. They're handed a large sum of cash, $50,000 or so, and told to wager it on various outcomes. Sometimes though, without anyone's knowledge, least of all theirs, they're not just placing a bet. Let's say it's a college basketball game, and they're told to back the favourite. The odds aren't great, but they're not paid to ask questions. However, they are paid to make sure the word gets out on the floor at the casino or sportsbook. The computer group are betting big on the favourite. Soon, a flurry of copycat bets will inevitably follow, and with all that money now being bet on the favourite, in the college game with a small handle, the bookies respond as bookies do and adjust the odds. Now this is where Billy makes his real move. He instructs different runners to bet really big, $250,000 or maybe more, on the underdog, which he's now trading at an inflated price. The bookmakers take the money because they're greedy, and once they realise it's just too late. Naturally, because the computer group have done their homework, the underdog wins, and soon enough, Billy's made his first million. By manipulating the odds, he has the sportsbooks of Vegas in the palm of his hands. He's a shark and a whale. He's a great white, most dangerous sports bettor in the history of the world, Kenny White. The bookies don't like it, and unfortunately for Billy, they're not the only ones. January 5th, 1985. It's early morning, and Billy is at home in bed. The room is dark when two strangers walk in and wake him up. You're gonna have to get dressed. Billy sits up, blinking. Where's Susan? He reaches for last night's clothes. The room is quiet, and the men watch him dress. Susan is downstairs in the kitchen with a third man. As the pair are led away in cuffs across their immaculate front drive, Billy looks down at the morning paper and realises he's front page news. Indictments target betting group in Las Vegas. The large amount of money generated by the computer group's activities have riled the FBI. They've been tasked with cracking down on any illegal activities around gambling, and the computer group are operating in a grey area. Uncle Sam has stepped in. Sports betting of any kind is illegal in most states outside of Nevada and New Jersey, and whilst they're not actually bookmakers, they are operating on a systematic nationwide basis and are also expected of manipulating the odds, just like a bookmaker would. It's also clear that the authorities aren't keen on Billy. He barely went to school, let alone the right college. He's a guy who hustles billionaires on the golf course and wins $1 million and then loses it all in the same day down at the casino. They just don't like his sort. It leaves them looking silly. 17 days later, Billy and 16 associates of the legendary computer group meet in person for the first time ever in court. Quickly, the case collapses. There's a lack of evidence. But there's more trouble waiting when Billy gets back to Vegas. The Chicago mob have a big stake in town, and they're not getting their slice. Ruthless enforcer Tony Spilatro makes his feelings known, and Billy flees, only returning after Spilatro himself passes away. By 1987, the computer group are tired of the heat. They disband, so Billy goes solo. Around the same time, he's accused of money laundering but escapes formal charges. Come 1990, the group are backcharged with conspiracy and the illegal transmission of information across state lines, only to be acquitted once more. Meanwhile, Billy goes from strength to strength. With the dawn of internet connectivity, he works from home, just like a city broker, with a bank of computers and monitors checking the numbers and phoning orders through to runners. He becomes obsessed with secrecy. They use code names like Jaybird and Wolfman. He worries people are rifling through his trash, and in 1996, he's raided again for money laundering again. but this case is thrown out again. It's relentless. Is he really guilty, or is Billy Walters untouchable? By the year 2000, Billy Walters is a gambling legend. He might have losing weeks, losing months even, but he never has losing years. In a good year, he's up $50 million. In his own hillbilly speak, occasionally there's a feather day, but mostly it's all chicken. On one chicken day in January 2007, Billy wins $2.2 million. The University of Southern California just beat University of Michigan, and during the 2010 Super Bowl, he makes headlines winning more than $3.5 million when the New Orleans Saints beat the Indianapolis Colts. Billy's net worth is seriously climbing, and fast. He and Susan are having fun, but it's more than they can spend, so he gets into stocks and shares. It doesn't go well. Enron stock, fail. WorldCom stock, fail. Tyco stock, fail. The hustler from Vegas is being hustled by Wall Street, and meanwhile, he's still being watched. However, there are successes, in particular a company called Dean Foods, and to stay safe, Billy continues to use code names and code words like the Dallas Cowboys. Why? That's just between him and his partners, until one day it isn't. In 2011, keen to show that he's just like a city trader, but more honest, Billy agrees to interview with the CBS News show 60 Minutes. On it, he describes Wall Street as a lot of thieves with suits and ties on. They'd steal the Lord's Supper. Wall Street regulators are watching, and they're not happy. They too want to take him down. The investigation intensifies in 2014, when Billy is accused of using inside information to inform his trades at Dean Foods.
Profited from. Do you have any comments?
But Billy has a star witness, a friend, and the one guy he never tried to hustle on a golf course, Phil Mickelson. At the time, he's a 5-time major champion.
I have done absolutely nothing wrong, and that's why I've been fully cooperating.
Now, Mickelson had also traded suspiciously in Dean Foods, so he's interviewed twice by the FBI. He assures Billy that he told them, emphatically, that he'd never been given any inside information. He promises Billy he'll testify at his court case in New York, but on the eve of his appearance, he pleads the fifth, choosing not to provide evidence which could potentially incriminate himself. No charges are made against the golfer. Billy can't run, but is it still possible that he could walk? Here's how the case unfolds. Investigators prove that he had personal links to Thomas Davis, a director at Dean Foods. They establish a pattern of stock activity taking place immediately after communications between the pair, which have been secretly monitored. Billy and Davis never mention the stock openly, but eventually, investigators work out why they keep randomly discussing football strategies and referring to the Dallas Cowboys, which always happens to be just before a public announcement of some good news. When he hears those words, Dallas Cowboys, Billy immediately buys big. Millions of dollars are made. With this method, he's shown to have illegally gained $32 million in profits and avoided $11 million in losses. After an epic seesawing 50-year battle, it's game over for Billy.
Today, we announce insider trading charges against Billy Walters.
In April 2017, Billy is convicted and fined $10 million. He's given a sentence of 5 years in a prison in Florida for insider trading, but he denies the charge and appeals without success. In May 2020, he's released to home confinement in Carlsbad, California, and in January of 2022, age 75, his sentence is commuted. Tragically, whilst Billy's in jail, his daughter commits suicide. Believing this would not have happened had he remained free, he's unable to forgive Mickelson. Mickelson's lawyers argue that with all the evidence against Billy, his testimony alone would have made no difference. And so now, Billy devotes most of his time to various charities, including the Billy Walters Centre for Second Chances, helping former prisoners find their way back into society. His hustling days are behind him. So all across America, pool players, odds makers, stockbrokers, and federal agents can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Unless maybe, of course, he has one last ace up his sleeve. What do you think?